I will now call to order the 2013 Annual Meeting of Stockholders of Hormel Foods Corporation. Here with me at the podium are Brian Johnson, Vice President and Corporate Secretary, who will act as Secretary for this meeting, and Dr. Phil Meinrich, Vice President of Research and Development. Each of you received a program as you came into the auditorium. It includes an agenda setting forth the business to be transacted at this meeting. The agenda includes the election of a board of 12 directors, the ratification of Ernst & Young as independent registered public accounting firm, the approval of the company's operator shares incentive compensation plan, and an advisory vote on executive compensation. We will follow this agenda and conduct the business portion of the meeting before we review our stewardship of your company's business. Ample time will be provided for questions, and I ask that you please hold any questions you might have for the question and answer period. Your program also includes the rules of procedure we will follow for this meeting. We will now turn to the business we need to transact for this annual meeting. Mr. Secretary, has proper notice of this meeting been given to stockholders, and do we have a quorum for the transaction of business?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Notice of the meeting was sent to all stockholders of record as of November 30th, 2012, which is the record date for this meeting. A quorum is present at this meeting. Approximately 90% of the company's outstanding stock is represented here tonight, either in person or by proxy.
Thank you. Proper notice of the meeting having been given, and since a quorum is present, I declare this 2013 Annual Meeting of Stockholders open for business. The polls for voting on all matters are hereby opened at this time, 8:00 p.m. on January 29th, 2013. The polls will remain open until all items of business have been presented. The Board of Directors has elected Mr. James Sheehan, Mr. Raleigh Gensler, and Mr. James Anderson as inspectors of elections for this meeting. Our first item of business is the election of a board of 12 directors. In addition to me, the nominees for directors are as follows. Terry Crews, retired Executive Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Vegetable Business CEO for Monsanto Company. Jody Farragon, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Hormel Foods. Dr. Glenn Forbes, retired Executive Board Chair and Emeritus Physician, Mayo Clinic. Stephen Lacey, Chairman of the Board, President and Chief Executive Officer of Meredith Corporation. Susan Marvin, President of Marvin Windows and Doors. Our lead director, John Morrison, Managing Director of Goldner, Hahn, Johnson & Morrison, and former Executive Vice President of Pillsbury Company. Dr. Elsa Morano, Professor of Nutrition and Food Science and President Emerita, Texas A&M University, and former Undersecretary for Food Safety in the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Robert Nakasone, Chief Executive Officer, NAC Enterprises, and former President and Chief Executive Officer of Toys R Us. Susan Nestegard, former President, Global Healthcare for Ecolab. Dakota Pippins, President and Chief Executive Officer of Pippins Strategies, and former Director of Planning at Vigilante, a division of Leo Burnett. Attending our annual meeting for the first time is our newest director, Christopher Policinski, President and Chief Executive Officer of Land O'Lakes. The second item of business is the board's request that the stockholders ratify the Audit Committee's appointment of Ernst & Young as independent registered public accounting firm for fiscal 2013. For the third item of business, we will consider approval of the company's operator share incentive compensation plan. This approval will enable certain compensation paid under the plan to continue to qualify as deductible performance-based compensation under Internal Revenue Code Section 162M. The fourth item of business is the advisory vote on executive compensation. As outlined in the proxy statement, the board believes the company's compensation programs have been effective and recommends a vote for adoption of the resolution to approve the compensation of the company's named executive officer. Is there any discussion of any of these items of business? All of these items were included in the proxy solicitation mailed to you before the meeting. We will now vote on these 4 items of business. Any stockholder who has not voted by proxy and who desires to vote in person by ballot tonight, please raise your hand and keep it raised until an attendant has provided you with a ballot. Please complete and sign the ballot and pass it to the attendant at the end of the aisle. While the balloting is being completed, I'd like to report on executive retirements and advancements during this last year. Several of our executives retired in 2012 after long and distinguished careers with the company, including Rick Bross, Ron Fielding, Dennis Getch, Dan Hartzog, Doug Reitz, and Bruce Schweitzer. We thank each of them for their contributions to the company and wish them well in their retirements. In 2012, several of our executives were promoted to officer positions, including Jeff Baker, Fred Halvine, Luis Marconi, Jeff Newton, and Pat Schwab. In addition, Kurt Muller assumed new duties as Vice President of Consumer Products Sales, and Jim Snee was promoted to Group Vice President and President of Hormel Foods International Corporation. I'd like to ask all of these officers who were promoted last year to stand and be recognized at this time. This concludes the formal portion of the agenda. Since voting on the formal matters on the agenda has now been concluded, I declare that the polls are closed now at 8:03 p.m., January 29th, 2013. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce some distinguished guests we have with us here this evening. Mr. Richard Knowlton, the 7th President and CEO of the company, is with us tonight along with his wife Nancy, if they'd please stand down there. Mr. Joel Johnson, my immediate predecessor, who served as the 8th President and CEO of the company, also joins us tonight. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. James C. Hormel, grandson of our company's founder, George A. Hormel, and former United States Ambassador to Luxembourg. With Mr. Hormel here tonight are his son, James Jr., and his grandson, Ryland. If they'd please stand in front here. At this time, I want to acknowledge the passing in April of 2012 of I.J. Holton. Mr. Holton was a pillar of the Austin community and an outstanding leader of the company, serving as its 6th president and CEO. In 1978, he and Richard Knowlton led the decision to build the company's new state-of-the-art flagship plant here in Austin. In a fitting tribute, the new school currently under construction in Austin has been named the I.J. Holton Intermediate School. As in past years, we have a special group in attendance with us here tonight. Our final 4 Best of the Best teams will be presenting their projects tomorrow morning to a panel of judges who will select a champion. I ask that these teams please stand and be recognized as I introduce them, and they're all over in this corner here. Our first team is from the Austin plant with their Fresh Pork Chilling initiative. Next, the team from Progressive Processing in Dubuque, Iowa, will present their Chunk Chicken Yield Improvement Project. A team from the corporate office will discuss their Pecanwood Bacon Food Service Innovation Project. And lastly, our second team from the Austin plant will present their Spam Stork Discharge Improvement Project. Five years ago, we also began an environmental sustainability Best of the Best competition. This evening, our 2012 championship team from Rochelle Foods in Rochelle, Illinois is with us here tonight. Their solid waste reduction project achieved impressive results for the company. If they'd please stand. Congratulations to all of the team for their hard work and outstanding projects. Next, Phil Meinrich and I will provide more details about our business, as well as outlining some of our plans. Please keep in mind that some of the comments made today will be forward-looking. Actual results may differ materially from those projected in these statements. Please see pages 27 through 30 in the company's annual report for factors that may affect the company's results. I think as everyone saw in the video that started our presentation this evening, we really had a fantastic year in terms of some of the publicity from the company, and hats off to our corporate communications group for doing such a great job publicizing the 75th anniversary of SPAM, and that led to all sorts of other business publications both on television and in the print media. And so with all that publicity, the least we could do as a team is deliver good results for the year to back that up. And I'm pleased to report that the team did just that. We achieved both record sales and record earnings in 2012. We topped $8 billion in sales for the first time in company's history, a 4% increase over the prior year. And net earnings per share of $1.86 per share was a 7% increase, also representing a record. We report as 5 different business segments, and I was very pleased to see that all 5 segments generated sales increases during 2012. You know, the numbers are important for us from a financial standpoint, but what underlies these numbers, especially in the sales areas, is that we're connecting with that many more consumers. We're serving that many more meals in all of our different segments. So my hat's off to each of those groups for accomplishing that. On the segment profit side, 4 out of our 5 groups generated increases as part of that overall 7% increase for the company during the fiscal year. And that pattern really is not unusual if you look at our balanced model over the past several years. It seems that really each year maybe one of our units is confronted with unique challenges. So in the case in 2012, it was refrigerated foods. They had a compression of their pork processing margins as they looked at very challenging conditions there. But usually at least 3 or 4 of our other units come through, and that's been able to propel us forward over time. Even as we've given guidance for our 2013 results, we've indicated that after 4 fantastic years, Jennie-O Turkey Store will probably have a little bit lower year in 2013 as they confront significantly higher grain costs and weaker commodity markets within their area. But again, our hope is that the other 4 units are going to more than make up for that. One other great accomplishment during the fiscal year was the achievement of our $2 billion by 2012 Innovation Challenge. You may recall we had the $1 billion challenge back last decade, and we achieved that 2 years early. So we upped the ante and said, okay, we want to try to produce $2 billion worth of sales in the year 2012 of items that are new to the market since the year 2000. And really, each of these franchises that are reflected up here were part of our ability to achieve that success. So from our party tray franchise to our refrigerated entrees, to the lean ground turkey and turkey burgers from Jennie-O, to Natural Choice, to the newer versions of Completes. Each one of these items represents $70 million plus in sales for our company now, and these are great base new franchises for us, joining such legacy items as Hormel Pepperoni and Cure 81 and Spam Luncheon Meat. Heading into 2013, we're excited about another new product launch as well, and that we had this product, our Rev snack wraps, in test markets during the latter part of 2012. These items are meat and cheese combinations wrapped in flatbread, 8 different varieties that the consumer can enjoy either cold or warmed in the microwave. Our test results exceeded our expectations in the test markets, and so we are now in the process of rolling this product out on a national basis. We've made investments in automation and preparing the room in the Austin plant where this product line is going to go. Those investments total over $6 million in capital, and we also are in the process of hiring over 100 new folks to work that exciting new line for us. This didn't happen during the fiscal year, but it was kind of too exciting to pass up talking about. On January 3rd, we announced the most significant acquisition in the company's history in terms of deal value, the largest deal since the Turkey Store acquisition in 2001. And we're very excited to have brought the SKIPPY family into the fold in terms of Hormel Foods. We really feel this product line provides significant advantages in many ways to our overall business portfolio. First of all, it helps 2 of our business segments. It helps our grocery products group with a $270 million domestic franchise. That will now, right away, be our largest grocery products franchise, ahead of Spam, ahead of Completes, ahead of Hormel Chili, in a category that has broad consumer acceptance, is still growing, and with a strong number 2 position within that category. And we really think our innovation capabilities for SKIPPY once we have a chance to put them to work, will enable us to take that product out of the current product format, which is all peanut butter in a jar, and potentially use that very well-known and very well-accepted Skippy brand in multiple categories. The second category where it's a major advantage for us is our international team. So at nearly $100 million in sales outside of the United States, this acquisition will single-handedly increase our international division by 30%. The two largest markets internationally for Skippy are in China and in Canada, both markets where we have a strong presence. And then lastly, in terms of this balanced business model that we take such great pride in, one of the other things that Skippy provides is this non-meat protein element. And we certainly are not abandoning meat. We love our value-added meat products in our refrigerated group and at Genio Turkey Store and even within the rest of the grocery category. But you'll notice over the last few years we have added other franchises to the mix, such as our guacamole franchise, the acquisition we made 2 years ago, or our Country Crock side dish franchise. And so we think Skippy will fit in there very nicely as well. In terms of new team members that the Skippy acquisition brings, it comes with 2 plant locations. Our teams have already been down to meet in both of these locations. So we'll be having a group down in Little Rock, Arkansas, where over 150 employees are going to be joining the Hormel Foods family. And then we also get a plant in Weifang, China. We already have 2 plant facilities in China, in Beijing and Shanghai, and so this will be an excellent addition to our China business. And oh, by the way, we do have Skippy in the gift pack tonight. As befits another strong year from a financial standpoint, the board of directors was in a position to once again increase the dividend for the 47th consecutive year. This particular increase went from 60 cents per share to 68 cents per share, a 13% increase. We continue to try to stay in step with our packaged food brethren in terms of the total yield and payout to our shareholders. And of course, we also want to carry on the even longer tradition of sharing this success with our team. And so this represented the 74th consecutive year after J. Hormel started the profit sharing program in 1938 that we continue to provide this to our legacy employees in the company. This year was a record payout of $16.9 million. And then on top of that, a couple weeks later, we provided our 3rd consecutive award to all 19,700 employees, in this case a $200 award per employee. For the last 2 years, I've shared the stage with a couple of my brethren in the senior leadership group. Steve Bender was up here 2 years ago talking to you about our pepperoni and party tray franchise. And then last year, Jim Splinter talked to you about our Megamex business. This year, our guest presentation is from our head of our R&D group, Dr. Phil Meinert, and he's going to tell you about the important and wonderful things that group conducts. Phil?
Thank you, Jeff. I began my career 36 years ago as a quality control engineer in the old Austin plant. The first 12 years, I worked in plant operations before transferring to the research and development division in 1988. There, I had the opportunity to manage the product, process, and package development groups before advancing to vice president. I received my undergraduate degree from the Ohio State University, but my Master of Science and doctoral degrees from the University of Minnesota. Go Gophers. Tonight, I'm happy to share with you insights, how we develop new products for Hormel Foods, and give you a peek inside our research and development facility right here in Austin. I hope tonight's presentation gives you an appreciation for how much science, time, and effort is directed into the development of our safe, nutritious, and great tasting products. Creating a new food product or package is hard work. The process begins with our consumer insights, corporate innovation, and marketing teams developing an understanding of consumer eating patterns and behaviors. It sounds simple, but the goal is always to deliver a satisfying product to the market. Once the consumer opportunity is clearly identified, our research scientists become fully engaged. Hormel's global research and development facility, located in Austin, houses more than 100 scientists, engineers, technicians, and support staff with broad backgrounds in food science, culinary arts, package engineering, sensory science, chemistry, microbiology, and process engineering. They support the company's iconic brands, such as Hormel Chili, Dinty Moore Stew, and Cure 81 Hams, while also developing leading-edge processes to create new products, like our shelf-stable Hormel Completes microwave meals and Hormel Natural Choice meats. There are also over 100 scientists and support staff located at a number of our production locations, both domestically and internationally. Our product development teams here are actively working on over 300 projects at any given time. In addition to developing new products, our scientists are busy creating process and package innovations to improve products currently on the market. They also conduct thousands of chemical and microbiological evaluations to verify the quality and safety standards of our foods. All of this work provides assurance that you are consuming a safe, nutritious, and delicious Hormel Foods product. Our scientists get to have a lot of fun when they put on their creative hats to formulate ideas into new products. They not only develop new cooking methods and new packaging, but are also required to constantly test and evaluate new products every step of the way. And that includes tasting new food creations too, sometimes several times a day. Our pilot plant contains a scaled-down version of nearly every piece of equipment in use at our production plant locations. This provides easy access for our scientists to test and develop new products right here in R&D, so we don't interfere with our production facilities' operational efficiencies. We have nearly 70,000 square feet of space fully equipped with traditional and some very innovative pieces of equipment. We constructed our facility with oversized rooms and doors, and this gives us the ability to conduct research on larger pieces of experimental equipment that more closely simulate commercial operations. Our close proximity to the corporate offices enables face-to-face communications with marketing, engineering, and operations managers so we can make fast decisions and keep projects moving on time. We have a fully staffed chemistry and microbiology lab on site to provide ongoing analysis during the development process and to conduct routine analysis on the thousands of products manufactured across our company. Our chemistry lab analyzes foods for things like protein, moisture, fat content, and pH. They also run complex analysis for the different vitamins and minerals in our foods to verify the nutritional claims on our packages. Our microbiology department conducts a number of studies to support our plant operations and quality control teams. Samples from all of our production plant locations are tested each day to verify the processes at our facilities. We also have a biosafety level 2 pathogen lab that allows us to conduct tests for organisms such as Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli. This central lab enables our team to evaluate and validate all of the food safety technologies used throughout our company. Last year, more than 250,000 samples were sent to these labs, representing almost 1 million individual tests. I'm proud to share with you that our USDA accredited labs are rated among the best in the country, providing us with a great deal of confidence on the accuracy and the precision of our data. Our sensory scientists provide hundreds of flavor and quality evaluations each year for our product development groups. They use a computerized evaluation system that provides same-day feedback to our scientists and chefs with important data and insights how they can improve their product formulations. Other members of this group evaluate the shelf life of hundreds of products each year on items currently under development, as well as those already in the market. For example, we have an incubation room that simulates many different temperature and lighting conditions to help us understand how different environments may affect the quality of products over time. The first thing you see when shopping for your food is the package. All of the packaging materials, glass, cans, labels, cartons, lids, films, bags, and corrugated shipping containers are designed, tested, and approved by our packaging scientists in R&D. Packaging's primary role is to protect the product from damage and contamination so it remains clean, safe, and wholesome. In many cases, the packaging also facilitates the processing of the food, and it must be functional for the consumer. This includes designing features such as easy to open, easy to close, reheating, portability, clarity, and portion control. In addition, this team works closely with our many packaging suppliers as well as our corporate purchasing, engineering, and transportation teams to create environmentally friendly and sustainable packaging systems. Last year, our sustainability efforts helped prevent more than 4 million pounds of material from going to landfills. I've talked about a lot of things we do at R&D, but I didn't show you everything. And that's because they're secret. The new products and technologies we're currently working on represent the growth engines of the future for our company. And I can tell you, I am very excited about the future of Hormel Foods, including the recent acquisition of SKIPPY peanut butter products. Hormel's success is rooted in innovation. Earlier, Jeff mentioned that our company met our $2 billion by 2012 goal. Think about that. 25% of last year's $8.2 billion in sales came from products that did not exist 12 years ago. What a great testimony to our founding fathers' famous quote, "Originate, don't imitate." I hope tonight's review of Hormel's research and development capabilities was helpful and that it gives you confidence that the spirit of innovation remains as strong a focus now as it did in 1891. Thank you.
One of the numerous accomplishments of the R&D group that Phil just shared with you related to that packaging sustainability effort, the reduction of 4 million pounds of excess packaging that we were able to pull out of the system. Our corporate sustainability efforts go beyond the R&D group. We execute them every day in our plant facilities as we seek to find ways to reduce our water usage, reduce our energy usage, and enhance the amount of recycling that goes on in the plants. Among the accomplishments cited on this slide that we really are most proud of would be a couple on the right there. First of all, that 19th ranking among the best corporate citizens by Corporate Responsibility magazine. That's 19th in the country. We were the highest rated company in the entire state of Minnesota, and there are a lot of fine companies here in Minnesota, so we're really quite proud of that record. And then the plant awards received from our new facility in Dubuque, Iowa, Progressive Processing, really shows what can happen if you can embed these sustainability elements right from the start of your facility. And we use these same green techniques in our corporate office edition that many of you had a chance to see this summer at our summer open house event. We continue to be very active in the area of corporate philanthropy, both in terms of supporting education programs, so our matching dollars for our colleges and universities, and also our kindergarten through 12th grade institutions within our local communities. And our other major initiative as a company still remains in the hunger relief area. This past year saw over $3 million go in the form of cash and product donations to hunger relief programs here in the United States, including $220,000, so $10,000 apiece, to 22 different plant communities where we've really provided the authority right to the local team to work with whoever they think is the best partner in that community to help alleviate hunger within their local area. And then for the past few years, I've shared with you our innovative product, Project Spammy, and the creation of the Spammy meat spread item that was created specifically to address hunger and malnutrition in areas of the world that really need this facility. This past year, in addition to significantly increasing the amount of product donations we did into the marketplace, we were engaged in two other very significant activities in the country of Guatemala. The first relates to research, and I think I talked to you about this last year at this meeting, where we received a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture, one of only 5 grants worldwide, to conduct research on our product and prove out the efficacy of the product, and we're looking forward to getting those results here within the next month or two. And then the second major new element this year was we added an interactive element that we kind of call company mission trips. We provided the opportunity that if an employee was willing to take their own vacation time and provide their own airfare to go to Guatemala, that we would provide the rest. We would partner with Caritas in the local market and provide an experience where they could interact and see firsthand the efforts that we are conducting in that marketplace. I want to share with you now a video that was produced with 3 of our participants from this summer's programs, and they're going to explain to you what they gained from this program.
Project SPAMMY is really at its heart a philanthropic effort by Hormel Foods to really make a difference one child at a time.
For me, when I heard that Hormel was doing something like that, it's just something that I feel I stand for. So when my company is doing that, I just felt really in tune with the project.
One of the big objectives is making a difference in the mothers and so the women and the children's lives. And we're doing part of that by bringing down donated materials that are donated by all Hormel employees, even some Hormel laptops. And we're going down and making dream stations to help facilitate really the idea of those kids having a dream.
We worked in those communities where we support those children and families with SPAMMY. And that was interacting with the kids, seeing the effects of SPAMMY, so going through communities and seeing like what goes on there. So how malnourished these children are, what really their everyday activities are.
You know, it was kind of that point where it kind of hit me and I realized I'm changing these kids' lives because of, you know, what I'm doing, what Hormel Foods is doing. We're changing lives, and there's nothing more rewarding than knowing you're changing somebody's life.
Going down, I mean, we had the expectation that we were going to, you know, see the SPAMMY distribution process. We were going to meet the people that were actually distributing it, but really we learned a lot about, I mean, the resiliency of these people and just seeing the impact that we've made and that deep sense of gratitude that they have, not only for Hormel, but also for us. I mean, you come back and you realize how truly blessed we all are.
On some of those days that you get frustrated and that you feel like you're really spinning your wheels and you're not making an impact, you're not making a difference, to have some of those reminders that, you know, because of this program, I'm involved in something it's so much bigger than just my cubicle or the company. You know, I'm really involved in something that's changing lives across the world.
We've learned a lot from these first 2 trips, and we're using what we've learned. I mean, the idea that really our focus needs to be on the education and mentoring of the kids, and that we can't solve all the problems, and we need to focus on what our company can achieve within those 100 communities that we are already in. I mean, that's where we're going to make the most lasting and deep impacts.
Not everyone can go to Guatemala at Hormel. Not everybody wants to, but that doesn't mean not everybody doesn't want to be part of the SPAMMY project. I mean, it's Hormel, we have such a great culture, and everybody wants to embody that culture, and so it's a natural person for Hormel to want to be involved in such a great project like this.
To think that I'm a 5-year employee just out of college and I'm traveling halfway across the world representing the company and making this huge impact in these people's lives, it's a really impressive commitment from Hormel Foods to its employees.
We've gotten so many people involved. So many people want to be part of these trips from all over the company. No matter where you are in this company, people want to get involved.
The most memorable moment was after they had had all that food, they had some energy, to see the mothers and the kids, just the look of satisfaction and happy contentment.
This is a project that I can just see, even the young people in my office are coming up. They're the ones that are really engaged. How can I make an impact like that? How can I get involved?
Being a part of Project SPAMMY is a very humbling experience.
Project SPAMMY is life-changing.
So So in 2012, we had enough participants for 2 trips down to Guatemala, consisting of approximately 20 employees and family members who went on those trips. And then we opened sign-ups up for the 2013 year, and we're going to end up having 4 trips. So we're going to have 4 of over 20 folks, so over 80 people will be going in market and continuing our efforts in Guatemala. I want to conclude our meeting by coming back to some of the financial measures, and in this case, really not looking just at 2012, but looking at things over the long term. We really still take pride as a 123-year-old company that we are in it for the long haul. And so clearly one of the key measures that you as shareholders ought to be concerned about is our stock performance over a sizable time frame. So if you look at over the past 5 years, we have exceeded our food industry peers within stock performance area, and we've also exceeded the overall market as evidenced by the S&P 500. And of course, if you're paying close attention, you'll see that the date at the end of the slide was the end of the fiscal year. And if you've been watching the papers, the stock's a little bit higher than the $29, so we're now up at $35. And so I think that gap has widened even further. Ultimately, stock performance is predicated upon business results, and the key results, the reason we have articulated goals as a company in sales and earnings, these really are the drivers that the investment community will look at. Our goals, as I've talked about in past meetings, are toward the top of the food industry. We're seeking to grow sales at a 5% per year clip, and we're seeking to grow earnings at a 10% per year pace. And over the past 5 years, I'm proud that our team has been able to not only achieve but exceed those goals with 6 and 11% as the overall result. But at Hormel Foods, we understand that financial results and business results have to go hand in hand with being a great employer and taking care of our teams within our facilities, and also being a great member of the community. And this is a lesson we learned from the beginning of this company. This company was founded by the Hormel family on quality, on innovation, on taking care of the employees through having one of the first profit-sharing programs in the entire United States, through creating the Hormel Foundation in the early 1940s for the further betterment of the local community. And so we accept and relish that legacy, and we intend to continue to provide business results and doing it the right way going forward. Thank you for your attention. Well, the inspectors of elections have now completed the tabulations on the voting from our earlier election, and the secretary has a report on this voting. Mr. Johnson, will you please give us that report?
Mr. Chairman, each of items 1 through 4, as identified in the proxy statement and voted upon by stockholders here tonight, has been approved by the required vote.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. The final tabulation of the vote will be included in a Form 8K filed with the SEC in the next few days. This meeting is adjourned, and I thank you all for coming.